Good evening, one and all. It is a Tuesday evening. It's Project Prospect. It's Brian and Mike back in the house for you guys. How are things, Mike?
It's all going on. I am at the moment trying to do like 4 things at once, watching what's going to happen because it hasn't been a frenzy to start free agency, but it has been interesting in terms of all the behind the scenes conversations that are going on.
Yeah. Like I put that into our group about an hour ago. And I said, I feel it's a lot quieter than it has been in previous years. I'm just kind of waiting for a bit of an explosion.
It's coming.
And I mean, for anyone who hasn't seen the tweet from Blogging Boys, which has come in the last 5 minutes, there is a potential trade going down in Dallas. I'm sorry, I just can see a message there popping up for a cornerback. So if something happens whilst the show is going on, of course we will talk about it. But obviously, Mike, like, it's a cornerback, and you had two opinions who you think it might be. One I'd be very happy with. One I would definitely not be happy with. So if you want to give the folks the 2 people you think it is.
I mean, like the 2 that stand out very quickly in my mind. Obviously, there's Darius Slay because he's asked. He said, like, I want to get traded. Put me on the block. So straight away, you got to think that. The other is there's 2 really. Another 2. I like the idea of Jeff Okudah as one because obviously he's done nothing in Detroit. Not through that he's a bad player, just through opportunity and injury. When you think like his first year, he was out. So there's that. The other one that popped into my mind is one of the Buccaneers cornerbacks because they're both pretty good. And do the Bucs want to ship off one? Jamal Dean, perhaps.
Jamal Dean is a free agent, I believe.
He is that's why I was thinking, he's a free agent. So the other guy is
Sean Murphy-Bunting.
Yeah, and you've also got Carlton Davis.
Yes, Carlton Davis. You're dead right.
Trying to think off the top of my head. So, they because they got a slew, if you like, or quite a good collection of cornerbacks. I think, because they're cornerback heavy. Go with one of them guys. Could be.
Yeah. So as we say, we will let you know as it comes in. Literally, my phone is popping up with messages from Blogging the Boys saying release the information. But look, I suppose free agency, the legal tampering period started yesterday, Mike.
Yes.
Since we did the show last Tuesday, we've seen 3 restructures from the Cowboys. They've restructured Dak, they've restructured Zach Martin, they've restructured Michael Gallup to free up cap money. We knew this was coming. It's left about 18.5 million open per over the cap right now. Donovan Wilson's numbers aren't in there yet. We've re-signed today. And who's the other player we re-signed?
Re-signed?
Yes. We've re-signed somebody, haven't we, other than Donovan?
No, Luke Gifford's gone.
Gifford's gone.
He's
Connor
gone.
McGovern is gone.
Connor McGovern's gone. They're trying to get Leighton Vander Esch done.
Yeah.
He's in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And I believe Noah Brown is gone as well.
Noah Brown. Oh, sorry. I literally have just seen something.
Yeah, I know.
Oh no.
I was wondering, Stephon Gilmore was a name that I was thinking about.
Oh. Well, I'm not convinced.
He's not a bad player, even still now at his age.
Yeah. So the breaking news, which seems to be coming in from it's Tom Pelissero is breaking it. The Colts are sending 5-time Pro Bowl cornerback Stephon Gilmore to the Cowboys for a 2023 fifth-round compensatory pick.
That's not bad.
Sources are telling him and Michael Rappaport. So let us know your thoughts on that one, folks. Mike, I mean, give us your instant reaction and your kind of breakdown. What Stephon Gilmore will give this team?
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, like, you got to think straight away. This is telling you what they think about what they're going to do with Anthony Brown. There's your first reaction is that right? That's Anthony Brown. He's done. He's gone. Doesn't put them out to the market for cornerback in the draft though.
No,
because I until we see the details on what they're going to be doing with Stephon Gilmore, I can't really quote on that. I like Stephon Gilmore. He is a very sneaky ball hawk, and I know he was in Indianapolis last year. I'm trying to find some details on his statistics. I don't think he had a bad time.
Yeah,
I'll try and get some details up now while we're talking about him.
Yeah,
but I like him as a player. He was obviously, you know, when you think back of Stephon Gilmore, you always think of his days in the Patriots because and I mean that then he was, you know, a pure ball hawk. But I'm going through some of this now. So okay, 60 tackles, 12 defensive stops, 2 interceptions, quarterback rating allowed of 82.6, which is okay. It's not great. It's not bad.
Yeah,
I'll buy that for a fifth round compensatory pick. Mind.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like for a fifth round guy who you're going to take in the draft, that's a project. You know, you're looking at someone who is potentially not going to see the field next year, who's going to probably be a special teamer at best to get most of their snaps. And you potentially now have a lockdown corner. I mean, I know my instant reaction was not great. I'm not knocking Stephon Gilmore as a player at all. I'd say he's a little bit on the downslide for me, but look.
Oh no, he's definitely on the downside of his career.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he's like coming up to 34 years of age. So he 33. So when the season starts, so he's born in September. So when the season starts, he'll be 33 years old. So you think the athletic abilities that he has, they're going to have obviously deteriorated. I mean, like 82 targets, 52 receptions allowed. Like, yeah, it's not bad. Like everything that you look at is what you can keep saying, you can keep reiterating the same. It's not good, it's not bad. And like when you think what the Cowboys are after opposite Trayvon Diggs is exactly that. Like if you was to describe Anthony Brown's season last year, you'll say it's good. It's not bad. It's not bad. It was just good. It was fine. It was exactly what we needed him to be. So, and like here's the other thing you got to think about is if there's anybody in this league that could unlock like the last ounce of football in a play, it's going to be Dan Quinn. Yeah. It's going to be Dan Quinn who's going to be able to do that. He's going to find a way to just squeeze that last drop of football out. Because I mean, everything else with Stephon Gilmore is still standard. You know, there's still all there. I know he's a little bit. You know, he's just barely 6 foot, and you know, there's the issues with the weight as well. He's always been that light kind of kid. You know, that guy. I say kid. He's a guy now. He's a man, but you know, he's always been that type of player. But he's not. It fills a role. It fills a hole. And what you're trying to do at this stage, as we've always said, is that you're trying at this stage to fill needs. You're trying to fill as many needs as you can so that you're not going into the draft drafting for need.
Yeah, 100%. Just pulling up a comment here from Elizabeth, and we kind of mentioned this already. Obviously, Noah Brown has gotten a 1-year contract with the Texans.
Yeah. Do you know what?
I mean,
Right? Do you know what? I love seeing, like a guy like Noah Brown, like that 7th-round pick, just like
yeah,
trying to find a way to stay in the league, stay right. I'm all for that. And I'm just like, go
yeah,
get it, mate. Go get it. Like
yeah,
we got exactly what we wanted, like a 7th-round pick, and we got like all that. I mean, like, you think of the start of last season, like he's shocked and surprised everybody. We were like, whoa,
yeah.
where was this guy all along? Obviously, he's a very typical like wide receiver 3 on your depth chart, where he's gonna be good for you in games, but the consistency's lacking, and that's what you saw from
Yeah,
Noah Brown
yeah,
as the season wore on. But you just love to see a guy like that and just be like, no, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna keep scrapping. I'm gonna find another way to stay in this league, and that's what he's done.
yeah. And DJ Dog is just bringing up another point, which has been it's been around for the last 36 hours or so. The Broncos are looking to trade one of their primary receivers, Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I've heard it's Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't be interested in either of them personally. I think the Broncos are realizing now at this stage they screwed the pooch with the trade they made for Russell Wilson. They've screwed the pooch with going and getting Sean Payton, and they have nothing. They have absolutely nothing to draft this year, and they're just trying to get picks in.
Yeah. I have to agree
And
with
they
you.
have,
I'm
they
shifting
have,
stuff around.
they have been busy enough in free agency as well.
Yeah, they've been on the phone a lot too.
Yeah,
Been on the phone a lot.
Yeah. So DJ Dog is saying Judy's contract is up at the same time as CD Lamb's.
That is true. So that's why I think the Cowboys won't be in on Jeudy, because they trying to do both at the same time. And like I like Jerry Jeudy. I like what he was in college in Alabama. He was fantastic, but he's struggled a little bit, and not down to the Broncos. Like, he's really struggled, especially in the red zone in the NFL, which is surprising.
Yeah, it's true. So former co-host of the show, Joe Francis, is asking, is the Stephon Gilmore rumor true? Joe,
It is.
100% is.
He's in. And just so you know, as we've been talking, checking, depending on what they do, because obviously the contract follows the player. As it stands right now, he's $9 million against the cap.
Yeah.
So
you
obviously,
if they decide,
whether they add voidable years to the contract, whether they do something that, or they, Stephon's coming in agreeing to do something with the contract, you don't know. But that, as it stands right now, that's how it works.
Yeah. And Elizabeth is just asking, what about Adam Thielen? I'd be interested.
Again, another aged player that you can try and squeeze the last bit of football out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, Thielen definitely, certainly last season, was getting bullied out of the offense. Not through any fault of his own. I mean, what you expect? He's got one of the best wide receivers opposite him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, and it's been like that the last couple of years. But Thielen has been on the downside of his career. But it wouldn't be a bad way to just cover yourself. It's not a bad way to go. He's reliable. He doesn't drop many passes, so that never changes. Obviously, the athleticism as you get older is gonna wither, as it will with Thielen. But I mean, you could, as the stopgap for what Noah Brown was, Thielen coming in as your replacement is a nice way just to get you through the year. It works.
Joe from Italy is saying he'd still like DeAndre Hopkins to come to Dallas. It's a possibility. I don't know if the money is going to match up, though. So I'm not sure. And DJ Dog is saying, let's think about this. We've re-signed Wilson. We've added Stephon Gilmore. What if we sign OBJ? Now you go into the draft with tight end, defensive tackle, and running back in the first.
Offensive line. Offensive line as well.
I think it's leaning towards offensive line the way things are shaping up now.
Do you know, right? I was trying to think, and it was something I probably posed to the guys on our guest on Thursday. And I'll ask you this, right? So sitting at 26, and you've got John Michael Schmidt and Steve Avila still available there.
At 26.
Available there right now. I know what you're gonna say, but let me finish the hypothetical, and then we'll go from there, right? So what if, right, the Cowboys are sitting there with seeing both, right? Because the issue is both those players, because of their versatility, playing both guard and center. Avila most certainly, because he played tackle too. So what if you turned around at that stage and went, it's rich for a first round pick, but they're not going to be available at pick 56. So our second round pick, they're going to be gone, way gone.
Yeah.
So what if at this stage we're willing to take one of them, but we trade back first? So we trade back in the first, staying in the first. So we only trade back a few. You get possibly like a third and a fourth round pick with what you do. Then you take Steve Avila. Would that be okay for you to take that inside offensive lineman in the first round in a trade back, remaining in the first?
Yeah, like I mean, I would prefer to stay in the first that you have the fifth round option.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Which is 100% where I think you were trying to go with it.
Yes.
I think both of them are a bit rich for my blood, but I understand the point you're making in terms of they won't be around at 56. I know
because like say Steve Avila, you take him at pick, they trade back and they go back to like say pick number. There's only 31 picks. Remember this year,
31.
First round.
Yeah.
So let's say they trade back to say 29. And they get an extra third round pick. So then that third round pick could be like, say, so you get Steve Avila with the first, you get an extra third round pick, and that third round pick is like, say, I don't know, what would be a good third, like Tajay Spears.
DeMarvion Overshown.
Yeah, there is a good example. Or one of the linebackers we're going to speak about tonight from Alabama, Henry Chioto. So, like, let's say you take him. So now that first round pick becomes Steve Avila and Overshown. And you go, well, that's a perfect value for what you've done there. And then in the second round, I've seen some of the comments. You take tight end and you take Darnell Washington with that pick. There you go.
Yeah.
So basically, you turn one pick into three solid picks, and still not forgetting you still got your third round pick. All right, sure, you've probably you've lost a compensatory fifth round pick with the Stephen Gilmore trade, but you still got the others to play with in day 3.
Yeah, like I mean, we have our first, second, third, fourth, fifth. We had 2 fifth-round compensatories, which we've now
just lost one.
Away.
Yeah.
We traded our 6th for Hankins last year. We've a 7th and another compensatory pick in the 7th.
Yeah,
isn't it?
So they So they had 9 picks. That's now gone down to 8. So it's the one. So they've only got 1 compensatory pick left. No, wait, 2. You are right. 2. And one is a 6. Yes.
Yeah. We traded our original 6th for Hankins.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's all going fine. It's all going swimmingly.
Yeah. And literally, I'm like, my phone is just over here, and I'm seeing the comments lighting up over there in terms of player tweets, reactions from people, and this seems to be going down very, very well with everyone. I mean, for a team who doesn't trade and doesn't do anything, and we sit in our hand and we like our guys and all of this. I mean, this is really good.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's happy with the fact that it's only a 5th.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest part in all of this. Is that it's not a huge loss in terms of draft capital. I mean, they're going to have to do some shuffling in terms of cap so they can keep that square and level. Really, the next stage of all of this now in determining what they're going to do with, because I mean, like, they could restructure a couple of the players, but I'm not liking that idea because of the type of contracts they're on. But what I am thinking is this stage now, the real most important sticking point with what goes on beyond what they do here at free agency all really depends on how they can organize or reorganize Zeke's contract.
Yeah.
They're not in a rush to do it right now, but
no,
what they do post draft at this stage now really depends on what they do with the Zeke contract.
Yeah. And I still think that they're going to wait till close to the draft, if not after the draft, before they'll make that decision on what they're going to do with Zeke. Whether that's, as we say, whether that's a designated June 1st cut or they announce it tomorrow or what happens. I don't think they're prepared to walk away from him just yet.
No, there's no point in rushing right now because, I mean, there's so many free agent running back. I was speaking about this with Blogging the Boys last week on a podcast, that there's no point right now in rushing because you don't know what the value is at the running back position because, A, there's a lot of free agent running backs and there's even teams willing to move on from other running backs. Like the Vikings are looking to try and trade off Dalvin Cook. You know, there's that situation going on. So what the cost of the running back position is a big question mark. The same with the fact that there's a lot of the running back depth in this year's draft is huge. So the Cowboys really don't need to rush. Plus, the other advantage of waiting is that if you wait long enough, all these teams are going to snap up all the free agent running backs. They're also going to draft all these running backs, which then leaves Zeke less options to go to. His value immediately declines because teams are like, we've got our guys. We're not really in a massive rush to sign you. So then what happens then is when he goes back to Dallas are now back in the lead in terms of the negotiating table. So they can just be like, well, who are you going to go to? Because nobody's offering you that much. So we want you to come down to this. This is where our value is. This is where we want you to be. And then that's up to Zeke what he does from there then.
Yeah. And Joe is just asking the other question here. Don't understand why they haven't addressed the offense yet. Tyron Smith that doesn't trust to stay healthy. Terrence Steele coming off a major injury unless they're going to draft one. Joe, I think, to be honest, I think they're going to draft offensive line. I think kind of Mike has given a couple of scenarios. Osiris Torrance seems to be sliding down the boards a little bit to land at 26. So there will be offensive line options. And, you know, like Mike, I think you kind of laid out the point there when you mentioned Avila or Schmitz with a trade down in the first. You know, this time last year, none of us really were talking about Tyler Smith at this point in the draft. You know, so it can happen.
The other thing you got to think is, like, what do they think of? Because, like, the left-hand side of the line is going in one obvious direction. Yeah, it's going to be the double Tyler on the left. I'm just saying, get ready for that.
Yeah,
the way that it's going, you can see all the signs are pointing that way. They're saying Terrence Steele is going to be ready for camp, so there's your right-hand side. So what this becomes a case of is not if or when with Tyron Smith. So what they're looking at is which way round do they want to do this? Are they kicking Tyler Smith back out? So they need an inside offensive lineman to cover that. Or are they taking a tackle? Or do they feel strong enough that the guys that were missing last year from the tackle position develop far enough and are healthy enough to play that role if and when the situation arises?
Yeah. I'm just going to throw this one to you, Mike. Guy who's like been mentioned as the top tackle. You don't see him as the top tackle. There doesn't seem to be any talk about him anymore. Do you think is there any chance Skoronski drops to 26?
See, no, right. So this is where I argue the problem with Peter Skoronski is that for me, I see Skoronski as a guard, not a tackle.
I agree.
Yeah. Lots of reasons. The big one is his size, his arm length. He's not got an NFL arm. His arm length to play tackle, it just isn't like. So you got to kick him inside, and you got to give him a chance to prove that. I think though, if you give Skoronski that, because he is quite tall, that's what goes against him.
6'7".
Yeah, so he is quite tall. But I will say this is that you kick him into guard, then and on my list, on my draft board, I've got him listed in the guard positions. That's where I've got him.
Yeah.
But he's the number one pass blocking offensive guard in this year's draft by far.
Yeah.
And that's hard to come by in the NFL. Like, there's not many people that are like Zach Martin that you can just drop in and be like, there we go, and never worry about again. Skoronski is, I'm not saying he's Zach Martin, like Zach Martin guards come like very few and far between. Like, that doesn't happen often. But Skoronski, and like Northwestern was an absolute beast last year on the line.
They weren't very good in Dublin.
No, I know. Yeah, I know there was the Dublin game, but like I just think that he's in my guards. He's in my guard positions. In terms of like offensive tackle at the top, that's still all over the place. You got Paris Johnson, and it was weird with the tackles. The guards this year are easier to differentiate in terms of talent level.
Yeah.
And like you can tier them a lot easier. The tackles can just be like, I can watch a couple of them and be okay. And then, like you're watching a game and things catch your eye. And I find that with offensive line, and I'll be like, ooh, I missed that. And then all of a sudden you got to go back and like, it's harder with the offensive tackles this year, which is weird to say. Because usually it's the other way around. The tackles are harder to kind of separate a bit more.
Yeah. I'm just going to do one more question, Mike, before we actually get into what we were going to talk about on this show. What player do you not want to see taken at the 26th pick? So DJ Dog is suggesting Brian Breesy or Lucas Van Ness. So is there someone you would hate to see drop? I'm asking the wrong person. Is there someone you'd hate to see at 26 that they have to draft?
I know this is controversial. I wouldn't hate it, right? But if I saw it, I'd just be like, only because of other reasons. Now, this is like super controversial. No, actually, I won't go super controversial. I'll go the other way. I tell you a guy who I definitely don't want to see at 26 that people are thinking would be Jalen Hyatt.
Oh, God, no.
I don't want that at 26.
No, I wouldn't be taking him with 56.
No, see, second round, I'm okay because he's a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Okay, I will take that. Maybe like if you want to go the other way in terms of tight ends, like Dalton Kincaid. Like, I'm a big Dalton Kincaid fan. Don't want it at 26 though. I agree with Breesy, from Clemson. That's a good. He was one of the first reports I did, scouting reports this year.
Yeah,
it's the injury history, and like you look at the pre-injury Breesy was still had some odd question marks to his game.
Yeah,
but there was a lack of sharpness to his game after the injury, and that's what I saw. And then I'm just like, I can't take that in the first. That's for sure.
Yeah. For me, I would say Luke Musgrave at 26.
Definitely.
Might be a bit rich.
Yeah.
Who else?
My controversial one, which people will go, no way, you're nuts, is Jackson Smith.
In Jigba?
Yeah.
Ooh.
He's my wide, right? Before people say, no, you're crazy, he's my wide receiver one, right? I've ranked my he's wide receiver one. The reason why is that for me, when you look at the Cowboys wide receiver core, I just think that he's too much of the same of what we've already got. When I want a wide receiver core, you want your wide receiver core to be like a basketball team, to have like a plethora of talent and skills. You don't want them to all be the same. Otherwise, that's easy to defend. Ironically, Clemson found that out with their wide receiver because they had literally every wide receiver was cut from the same cloth. And all that you do then is you just become easy to defend because you just teach every corner how to defend one guy. And that's just what it's like. Don't get me wrong. JSN is my wide receiver. If the Cowboys took him, I'm not going to be upset about it. But I'm just saying that if it was, I just be like, what you really need to figure out what you're doing with your wide receiver core right now. Then,
yeah,
because they're starting to get too similar of what they are.
Yeah, Lil Mac is just suggesting that Dallas draft a tight end or wide receiver at 26.
Yeah,
can see it.
Totally fine with
DJ
that.
Dog also suggesting an under the radar guy for the mid rounds, Jonathan Mingo again. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I'd say he's maybe slightly behind Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, he is definitely.
Not by much.
No. It's just his is just an improvement of technique. More specifically in his route running. Gets better at route running. That guy is gonna, because like he's not fast, he's more effective in the short zone. So like, and he just like JSN goes from trying to catch the ball to securing the ball and becoming a ball carrier in an instant. So quick, natural pass catcher.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw one more question, Mike, and this is coming directly from me before we move on to the bones of the show. Is there anyone you foresee tomorrow being cut from this roster to create a little bit more cap room? And if anyone else wants to drop in their opinions in the comments,
I got one.
Go on.
Neville Gallimore.
It's a good job Paul's not on the show tonight.
You'd probably agree. I just think Neville Gallimore, like, it's not that it's to save money, it's to make room for everything else. Like, he's provided you. I've always said 3 years, especially defensive linemen. 3 years, give it to him, and you've given them those 3 years, and it hasn't got better; it's got worse. I think, if I remember rightly, he was on PFF for inside defensive lineman. His grade was like 4th from bottom.
Yeah.
And that's bad. And like you can't, what are you supposed to do with that? Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, he was never good against as a run defender. He was coming in as that sort of that inside pressure, pass rushing 3 tech. And you're not getting that from him either. So you're not getting the run defense. You're not getting the pass rush or pressure on the quarterback. So what do you do with that?
Yeah,
you're gonna have to cut ties.
Yeah, for me, I think a guy who's now in serious trouble, given that Stephon Gilmore is coming in the door, Jordan Lewis.
I think Jordan Lewis is done. Jordan Lewis was done after that injury, and then you had what Deron Bland was doing from the slot.
Yeah,
and the good thing with the Stephon Gilmore picking him up is that keeps Deron Bland doing what he did best in the slot. So there's another plus. And I think for Jordan Lewis, he got the injury. From the moment that injury happened, that was his time done in Dallas, unfortunately, because I do like Jordan Lewis. He is a good player.
Yeah. And I'm just going to throw this one to you, Mike, and then we're definitely moving on. What round would you draft Landers from Georgia? I'm taking it that's Matt Landers, is it?
Yes.
And DJ Dog is saying a third day pick, like the size and the speed. Okay, so we're nearly 40 minutes into the show. This is Project Prospect, and we did intend to talk about linebackers, but obviously, look, everyone knows the week that's in it. It is free agency, and we have to talk about that. But look, we said we'd pick out three.
We'll do four. We'll do two each.
We'll do two each, and we can come back around to linebacker because I think we're going to take a linebacker at some point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Got to now. Got to. But before we start, you can pick the first guy. But let me just. Okay, you're in. You can have the honor this week of having your first guy.
So,
give it to you.
With the 26th pick in the draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Drew Sanders, Arkansas linebacker.
Interesting.
And I know he's not your number one. I know I reckon I know who you're going to pick at 26 if this is
if he's there, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, Drew Sanders for me, again, he's a big guy. He was a transfer, wasn't he, Mike?
Hold on, let me check.
He went from the Crimson Tide.
Yeah. Drew Sanders. I haven't even got because I was doing it off the top of my head. I haven't even got my details up. Yeah, he was a transfer from Alabama, actually.
Yeah. Well, so transfer from Alabama.
Oh, you did say Crimson Tide. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, your size, speed. Well, he's 6'5". He's a big guy, but light for a linebacker in the modern NFL, which is going to be a concern for teams. He's not a strong run defender, so you'd need to develop that side of him. His man-to-man coverage skills are a little bit dodgy, but he has that ability to rush the passer, which Dan Quinn likes.
Yeah, so that's why when you pick the guy, this was the first question because he's very Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Fast, nippy, that you can pull him into different various gaps so you can move him up and down the line. He's going to be obviously very blitz orientated.
Yeah.
So your idea is to double up on the strength that the Cowboys have. So you've got Micah Parsons and Drew Sanders both screaming in there. Okay, it's an interesting way to go.
Yeah.
Because and like what's interesting is obviously for Drew Sanders, he hasn't got far to go. He's his hometown. He's from Texas.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that you picked him. And like what is we talked about him being at Alabama. That's obviously a plus. Any player that gets chosen to play, Nick Saban singles you out to come in. That's obviously a big thing, especially defensive players, because Nick Saban obviously being defensive back coach, defense. Yeah. He does, you talk about the coverage. I like the sideline to sideline movement. He does have that.
Yeah.
And, off-ball linebacker, no. But as a second level defender in the box, that frame that you talk about, it's light, but I like that in that particular type of role.
Yeah.
And so, the tackling is an issue because he's missed a lot of tackles when he was in college, missed a lot of tackles. And another one as well that you see a lot of is he's easily manipulated.
Yeah.
That I've seen it a few times, and it caught my eye watching a few other players, and it cropped up where the quarterback's pump faking, and he's reacting to it way early, and and you're just like, whoo. You'd like to not see that, and that's obviously going to come with time. But his biggest negative, I would say, is his tackling. It's just. What's weird is he's in the right place. when he's run defending. He's in the right hole and he's doing the right things. And there's the mantra I always say, go slow before you know. So, as a linebacker. So just like don't overcommit is what they're trying to say there. So like they do that, and then and he's there. And just what happens sometimes, and another big one as well, is that he will make the tackle on a running back. And one thing I've looked at before in the past is ground given. So when you make the tackle, is it immediate? Are you stopping the linebacker in his tracks, or are you letting that linebacker run a yard or two when you make the tackle? And you do get that a lot with Drew Sanders, is that the running back will manage to fall forward from a tackle from him and some extra yardage. Apart from that, you can see him play in all the gaps. Give him some time learning some extra tricks and giving some extra tools in terms of pass rushing moves. I think the talent's there, and you said to take him at pick 26. It's not a bad thing. And you're doubling up on strength with what you got with Micah Parsons, because he is a Micah Parsons type player.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And I mean, I think that stood out in the fact, and DJ Dog has kind of commented here. He said the Longhorns wanted him in the transfer portal to play as an edge, went to Arkansas and ended up with 9.5 sacks last season. That's what you want. He's gonna if you bring in Drew Sanders is going to be on the field for third down. He can play as your designated pass rusher, freeing up Micah Parsons to be whatever Micah Parsons wants to be on that play, because if he wants to play safety, he'll play safety. But that allows you that ability to free up Micah a little bit.
True.
The ceiling for this guy is quite high, but it's where's the floor at? Is the floor high enough at pick 26?
That I would say, because of, especially when you think, okay, here's a question for you. Are we taking him that early because we couldn't keep LVE? Is that why then I've got to be out? Because LVE provided you the run stopping ability that Drew Sanders can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's too much of what Micah Parsons is. And at this stage, that's great. But I know if I'm an offensive coordinator, I'm saying just run it up the middle. Run it up the gut right now. Especially when you think the Cowboys' defensive line is in the middle as well.
Yeah. So the other guy, and I'm gonna flip it over for your first pick, and I think everybody else who's not a Drew Sanders fan is a fan of this guy. DJ Dog has had his say on it. He's calling for this guy. Lil Mac is saying he thinks the Cowboys fans would be P155 if we picked Sanders at 26. So I think they're all hoping for Mike to pick
Nolan Smith. I know he's cheating. Like you, and when I said it, you said, "No, that's cheating." No, right? Because if you think Drew Sanders is light, right? I mean, Nolan Smith is only like 230 pounds. He's just as light, 6'3". But I just think that no matter what we think or what we feel or players who are available, if Nolan Smith is available at 26, he overrides everything.
Oh, yeah.
It does not matter. He immediately goes as, like when CD Lamb fell to us and we all were looking at the needs that we needed on defensive line, especially that year. And CD Lamb fell to us and we took him. That was just, this is the Nolan Smith of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nolan Smith is the CD Lamb of that. You can't not take him. And much of what you were talking about with Drew Sanders is also the same true with Nolan Smith. But I just think that Nolan Smith has just a higher athletic profile than what Drew Sanders has. And the guy is just he's a crazy talent. He is, I think, more suited to play in as a linebacker on an odd front. So like as the wide 9 type guy in that role. But the Cowboys do mix it up. They're not, people talk about base formations nowadays. Base formations is kind of like an old, practically every, it's odd or even front and, you're in nickel defense 99% of the time. So I think Nolan Smith, and he does everything a little bit better than what your Drew Sanders is. I already liked what I saw, but because obviously a lot of his time was missing, because this is his biggest negative, is that obviously he had he tore a pectoral muscle, and that was only like, what was it, like in November, I believe. So like he's not that far from removed, and a lot of like the stuff he didn't do in the combine was because obviously he didn't want to re-aggravate that injury. Like he didn't do the bench press. Good example. So that's the biggest problem with Nolan. But like the comment says from DJ Dog about the combine, you can't override that. Like everything's 99 percentile. Like his 10-yard split was like 151 off the top of my head, and his 40 was 439.
Yeah,
439.
It was under 440.
Yeah, it's just rapidly fast, and like his verts and his broads were huge. I mean, this guy is just crazy, and the one thing he does really well is the angles he takes on his pass rushes, and something that Micah Parsons does that blew my mind is that when he's bending around the edge, you want to see good pass rushers will maintain that speed. They'll maintain the speed that they're going through as they bend around the edge. But Micah Parsons doesn't just maintain the speed. He starts, and I don't know how he does it, he starts accelerating. And you're just like, how are you able to do that? Nolan Smith, exact same thing. He does that, and you just like, it just blows my mind how a human being is able to do that. It's almost impossible. But what is good with Nolan Smith is that he can play the run. He is really good against the run. And that ticks so many boxes for me straight away. He's got the sacks, but also he's got the run stops to tie along with it. And I say he's got the sacks. Maybe that's the wrong thing to have said. But he's got the run stops with it, because maybe that is kind of like one of the biggest negatives, is that he is really good as a pass rusher, but he lacks the sack numbers.
Yeah.
But I'm 1-4, and I know you are too, that I'm not overly concerned about. Sacks are great. Sacks are absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that's like a touchdown for defense. But if you're getting pressures, like you're getting the quarterback's face and you're rushing what they're trying to do on offense, that's just as good as a sack for me.
Yeah.
If you're speeding up the play, you're causing the quarterback to mistime things or miscalculate things or make bad decisions, that's just as big as a sack.
Yeah. And I mean, with Nolan Smith, obviously, look, he's tested off the chart.
Oh yeah.
He has the ability, and by year 3, Nolan Smith is going to be on the field for every down.
Oh yeah.
He might do it in season 1. He might do it in season 2. But he's going to be a guy who can drop into coverage. He can stuff the run. He'll be able to rush the passer. So you're getting a guy who will have all of the tools in the box. And if you have him with someone like Dan Quinn, who loves to teach, he can only improve as a player.
Yeah. Like if I was to put it this way, he's less of a pass rusher, because him and Micah Parsons are fairly similar. Both rapid, both accelerating, good acceleration, quickness, burst. Got all of that. Strength as well. But I would say Nolan wins in terms as a run defender, whereas Micah Parsons wins as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
They're just slightly opposite each other in those bands.
Yeah.
The big one really for him is the pectoral muscle injury. What are you going to do with that? And he just needs to get in the gym because, like I said at the very start, he is light. I mean, 232 pound or whatever he was. Do you know what I mean? And when you look at him, and even when you watch in the combine, and we was looking at him, you can see for a linebacker in the NFL, in modern day linebacker like that, you just say, especially in the role that you wanted to try and play in as this dual capacity that you're going to want to have him in. He's definitely need to get in the gym and get bigger to absorb those blows, because otherwise he's not going to last long.
Yeah. And I mean, we have a lot of linebackers who there are question marks over because obviously if LV does come back, and the sounds we hear are that they're doing their damnedest to get him back.
Yeah.
There's injury concerns there. Damone Clark, injury concerns.
True. Jabril Cox, ACL. Yeah.
Devin Harper redshirted last year.
Of course. Yeah.
You know, so you do have a lot of guys there who have, you know, that, as you say, the question mark over their fitness and an injury profile history. So it's something to watch out for. Definitely is. Durability, that was the word I was trying to think of. And it was just something here. It just fed into a question that little Mac had. He said, do we think Micah wore down late in the season?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think to be fair to Micah, I think, would I swap the first 10, 12 games of the season that he had for him to be better at the end of the season? Yes. But would I still want the impact that he had in those first 10 to 12 games? Absolutely, because we wouldn't have been in the position at the end of the season without him.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, you know, when you talk about Micah Parsons, that he was different from the start to the end of the season, burning out, high snap count, and all the rest of it. Yes, agreed. But some of that also, when you think about it, was the fact that the defense early in the season had to step up so much because Dak Prescott was out for so many of the games. So they were getting just the crap kicked out of them for like the first quarter of the season.
Yeah. So the next guy, Mike, I'm going to go to your second guy because I thought this might be the guy you'd say first.
Okay, all right. We'll go.
And to be fair, like DJ Dog has made the point on this. Sanders, Smith, and Campbell all have traits that Dan Quinn would find a role for.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Jack Campbell was the guy that potentially I was thinking you were going to go with first.
Yeah, no, well, Jack Campbell of all the linebackers, like Nolan Smith would be great, but like in terms of like if we're going sensible, you know, we're not going conspiratorial or anything like that. Then Jack Campbell is what makes the most sense for the Cowboys. That he is a replacement for LV. He's that pure Mike middle linebacker that can come in and do the work. Like I said the mantra earlier, you know, go slow before you know. Jack Campbell does that better than most. He can work through the pile, and like what's really funny, what you always see with Iowa, and I watched it a few times with him, is, you know, when you get the running back hitting the mesh point, and then all of a sudden you see that the running back disappear into a mound. The amount of times that all the players filter off from the pile, and you see the first player that's on top of that running back coming off, the last guy coming out of that pile is Jack Campbell every time. And you're just like, how is he doing that? How is he going from back here, from, you know, say 4 yards back, to being the first guy under the pile on top of the running back? And he does do it. And it's quite right. Another Sean Lee. Is probably a good way to put it, because he is an FBI type linebacker for definite. Who can look at it, will take it all on, has the size, has the look that you're looking for. You know, he's close to 250 pounds. 6'5", so that's exactly what you're looking for. But he does have the intelligence to understand, to know what the offense concepts, what they're trying to provide, and what they're trying to do. His biggest issue is athletic profile, because like it's hard to go by, because not all of it was bad, but not all of it was good. Like it was like you look at all of his combine results, you go okay, and you go okay, So like for a linebacker, you would say, and when you go off the charts we've got for the height weight charts, he's smack bang right in the middle of everything. So you got that's fine. But sometimes what you're seeing, what the results from the combine don't always, it doesn't always translate to game speed on the field. So like he because what you'll find with Jack Campbell is that he isn't overly athletic, and sometimes he can be slow to react. So or not slow to react, his vision can lack a little bit sometimes. So he's trying to play catch up in two different factors. And when that happens, he struggles. And that's why you've got to have him as a Mike linebacker, because you can't have him covering tight ends. It's just not going to work. He's going to completely fail. The good news is we've got our tight end killer on our roster in Jerron Kearse. So that takes that, alleviates that roll off Jack, so we can keep him in what it is you want to do. So like kind of like what you saw with early LVE last season, where he will, if you give him the opportunity, go through an A gap and blitz the pass rusher. There's a little bit of that with Jack, but because he does have, weirdly, we talk about the athletic profile, he does have a fairly decent sort of burst. That 10-yard split was fine. But like I say, it's fine when you're doing it in shorts and t-shirt. You're ticking all the boxes on all the charts that you've got, especially for the linebacker position, his height and weight. But it sometimes just doesn't translate when he's in pads on the field. But in going back to his A-gap blitzing, it does work. It does happen. It hasn't happened a lot. Like, how many sacks did he have?
Last year, I think it was one.
Yeah, so there you go. So, that's fairly similar to what you'll get from LVE in terms of the sack rate. But that's not really what you're trying to get him in for. What you're really getting him for is that typical Mike linebacker. I'm just trying to find. So 159 on the 10-yard split. And like I say, you kind of just go, okay. And then you see 674 on the free cone. Okay, that's pretty good. 424 on the shuttle. That's pretty good. 375 on the vert and 10.8 on the broad. And for his weight, that's pretty. That's really good. But it just doesn't always, like, that's great. It just sometimes there must be something else going on, really, that I've missed, perhaps. That just see like it doesn't. He never seems to be able to chase them down, if that makes sense. He's got to get them there and then. Like Leighton Vander Esch. Okay, there's a good example here. The Leighton Vander Esch, you wouldn't consider him fast, but you wouldn't consider him slow.
No.
It's deceptive in both aspects.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the biggest thing with Campbell is, and you've already alluded to it, go slow until you know.
Does do that really
the intangibles, it's the leadership, it's the football IQ with Jack Campbell that's going to make him into a multi-year starter in the NFL. Whichever team gets him will give him a second contract without doubt.
Oh yeah. So very, very little injury problems. Like he had something back in 2020, but you're talking about the both the Dick Butkus and the Campbell Trophy Award winner. Yeah,
that's it. So he's coming off of a season like that. Why would you not hand in that card?
Yeah, he's a great tackler. Not bad, but bad in coverage either.
No.
So yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with, and like, if LVE isn't here and this was pick 26, he's ticking
Yeah.
boxes for me.
Yeah.
So there we go. I'll let you pick your last guy, mate.
So my last guy, and this is a guy I actually spoke about last year. And it's a guy I predicted we might take with our first round pick this year. And this time
I know where you're going.
He was considered a first round draft pick. But something has happened this year which just seems to have slowed him down. It's seen him drop down boards. But I think this guy has the ability. Again, he is a pure Mike. And that is Noah Sewell from Oregon.
Yeah.
Little brother of Penei Sewell.
Yeah, it is crazy. Like when you go through, because you can go on there's one particular site you can go on, and you can have a look at, and it's like a line graph, like a heartbeat monitor, and it shows you all the various sites compiled together, and where the average draft position is for that player. And Noah Sewell at the start of the season is fairly good. Then you get to about December, it starts coming down. Gets to New Year, and he's just off. He's gone.
Yeah.
And it's very rare you see a player that is so, especially pre-season last year, that was so highly thought of to then finish so low in the ranks. Like he's outside the top 100 at the moment.
Yeah.
Hold on. His average draft position is 108.
Yeah.
So that makes him a day 4, like he's fringe day 4 type guy.
Yeah.
I think perhaps, like you said, Mike linebacker role, because he is, in terms of like an athlete, his athletic profile is insane. Like, just like his brother was exactly the same. We always talk about Penei about the crazy athletic profile he has in terms of strength, power, anchor, all the rest of it. Noah Sewell is the linebacker version of that. Like, you know, I was just saying about Grant Given in terms of tackles on a running back. You watch Noah Sewell, brick wall. Running back hits him, stops it. There is no give on that. He will just stop. But what I think the issues that you have with Noah Sewell, and we've seen this as Cowboys fans, was with Jalen Smith. Is he's moving pre-snap behind the line. He seems to be moving around a lot, like as if he's trying. He's not reading. He's not taking his keys. He's not reading his keys, and he's second guessing and guessing what those keys are. And then what he does is, you see all too often, is he's either in the wrong place or he's overrun the play. And I think that's why why sites begin to have dropped him down, because he's moving around a lot. There's a lot of movement there. Completely lost on his keys and his reads, and then he's out of position. Like when he's there and when he's doing it right, I mean, man,
he's a monster.
I mean, he really is. Just manhandled players like no one's business, and you can see as well that he's tackling players, or you know, like when he's blitzing, he's coming off the edge. You can see he's gassed those guys out. Like they felt his physical abilities and his presence there. But also the issue you're going to have is you can't have him on all 3 downs, because he's definitely the big thing I've noticed with Noah Sewell. Forget about trying to play him, in pass coverage. You're not going to be playing him. And if you're having him as a Mike linebacker, you can't play the Tampa 2. No. That is gone out the window. And the Cowboys do play that. Like cover 1 roles, cover 3. You can't have Noah Sewell in there doing that.
But I suppose the thing for me with Sewell is You said it there. Yeah, his average draft position 108.
Fourth round guy. So yeah, you're looking for trades.
You're going to get this guy at the end of the third.
Yeah.
As you said, potentially, if you trade back in the first round and pick up a late third round pick.
Yeah, okay.
There's somewhere you can go, because assuming, and let's not assume too much, but if Leighton Van Der Esch doesn't come back, because apparently there is another team who are interested in acquiring him.
Yes.
So if he doesn't come back, this team doesn't currently have a Mike linebacker.
No
one on this roster is a Mike linebacker, so they have to bring somebody in. If, as you say, it gets past Jack Campbell or Drew Sanders, they're gone. You're looking for something down the line. And in a lot of cases, a third, fourth, fifth round pick can be that guy who can play in the middle and can develop. I'm thinking of someone like Fred Warner. I'm thinking, Baron Browning at the Broncos, those kinds of guys that were leaders in their programs in college and are now leaders in their teams. They didn't get picked in the first, second round, but they're there, they're with their teams, and they've stuck with their teams, and they've earned second contracts. And that's potentially what we need to do, is have someone in like that. Yes, as you say, there's limitations. You can't play them in coverage. Tampa 2 is an issue. But are you going to need him in those situations, or are you going to have someone like Micah, who's there, who can play it all, Jabril Cox or Damone Clark, who can go sideline to sideline?
That is really what the Noah Sewell, the big sticking point of Noah Sewell is, how confident are you feeling in Jabril Cox?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people, and it's an argument I've had with a few people, is the argument some people have with Michael Gallup was, look, he's coming off an ACL injury. Let's see what he does this year, because I have every confidence in the world. Michael Gallup, second year removed from an ACL injury, is going to be totally fine. Well, if you're doing that with Michael Gallup, you got to do that with Jabril Cox too. And I know Jabril Cox seen a lot less time than Michael Gallup did, but you still have to provide him with that same level of allowance. And if that's what you're going to do, so what you're hoping for is that the pre-ACL injury Jabril Cox is not just back, he's further developed, and then you can feel confident, and then you can say, okay, let's get the Noah Sewell type linebacker in, because we can lean back on these in our third down nickel back situations.
So I think we've gone over a couple of guys. We had another couple of guys that we were going to talk about. Obviously, time is against us.
Yeah, it was today.
But I think linebacker will be something we'll swing back round to at another time, because there are so many guys there. I mean, I'm looking. Got time for that. Yeah. Like I'm looking at the names that we haven't even discussed. There's 30-40 guys there that you could bring in at varying stages.
Linebacker is okay. It's one of those middle ground positions. The trouble is the NFL seems to be, what they did with the running back position is what they're doing with the linebacker, and devaluing it quite a lot. So which I think is the wrong move. I think linebacker, you get a good linebacker on your team, totally changes your defense. So it
does.
Yeah.
So I'll throw it over to you, Mike, and announce what's happening on Thursday.
On Thursday, yes, we have a special guest with us from Dallas Cowboys Media, the great Triple H, Mr. Heckma Harrison, is going to join us on Thursday. We're going to talk some more draft news, talk about whatever's happening, get onto the Saffold Gilmore talk, and all the rest of it. Get into a bit of chat about that, and then see what everybody's take is. But obviously, by then, we would have had more of Tuesday and Wednesday, and whatever happens on Thursday crop up. So plenty to talk about.
Hopefully, we'll have news of multiple additions to this roster or re-signings for this roster. Unfortunately, we will also have departures who will be out the door, and we'll give them a fond farewell. But before we do get out of here, we obviously we've got to give the shout out. So
there it is. Look, yes, if you're gonna go to a Cowboys game this year, make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. They got meet and greets, stadium tours, game tickets, parties, tailgate parties, all the rest of it, so much more. Make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. And if you do, let them know UK Cowboys sent you, because you'll get some free stuff, baby.
And you will get the chocolate pudding.
Yeah.
I think Barry has put that into the packs now as well.
Yeah, that's true. He probably has. But obviously tied in with that as well is the travel package for 2023. Lots of people booking in on this now. And believe it or not, there is some other people beyond this who are getting quite interested. Funnily enough, we had Sam Williams come on and shout us out, saying he's excited to see us go out there. So make sure you if you've got any questions about the travel package, don't have to be from the UK, could be anywhere. Just make sure you come and join us. Inquire, send us a message. We'll give you all the details.
Absolutely. And then the last one before we get out of here, shout out to all of our fellow media and content creators. So you have the Dallas Cowboys media team. Make sure you're following along on Thursday and Friday on the draft show, because they'll have lots of great content for you. Make sure you're following all the Blog and the Boys stuff, because you'll be getting the wonderful Mike and Paul from our side of the pond, and then lovely people like Meg and RJ and Kelsey over on the American side of the pond. And then lots of our own fellow content creators. So the likes of Skywalker Steel, J Tuck, Big Game James, and KT and Jeff.
And there we have it. So, yeah, we'll get out of here. Should we, Brian?
Absolutely. It's a good night for him.
Good night. Stay safe, everyone.